Hello, and thanks for coming along to And We Have an Office Dog, the digital agency podcast where we're talking to the people behind the agency, the service providers, coaches, and mentors to discuss what it's like working with you, the agency leader. With your host, Chris Simmons, the Agency Accelerator, talking to a different agency growth partner in each episode. What they love about working with you, what they wish you knew. All will be revealed. Okay, so let us begin. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, voiceover guy. As that intro was playing, I just realised I've got the wrong person on the podcast, I'm afraid. So you're stuck with Anthony for about 25 minutes. Hey, Anthony, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Chris?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. You know, intro had a smooth baseline, so I'm okay with that.
Good. So tell us, first of all, who are you?
Wow. Where do I start?
Let's get existential.
Okay. Well, I was born in Hong Kong, raised in Canada, and I moved to London. This is where I find myself. Actually, it does have a bit of relevance because in Canada, I actually spent 4 years in university studying print. And then when I moved to the UK, I was like, no one's really looking for print work. And I kept looking at this job description. It kept popping up like SEO. I was like, what is this stuff? So I had to look it up, and I kind of blagged my way into my first job. But I got my first job as SEO copywriter, and then quickly bought a book and read about what it was.
Yeah,
and
the old Richard Branson technique.
Yeah, and that's how I got into digital marketing. From there, I went to SEO copywriting to social media, which is where I am now. It was more B2C social media. I've done content for Pret a Manger and Just Eat, but now I've got my own agency, and I'm working with B2B companies on their LinkedIn content.
So I know, because I see you an awful lot on LinkedIn, that your content for the audience that you're cultivating, you know, agencies, B2B companies, etc. It's different. It looks different. It hits different. There's a humanity behind it. So, what do you do with agencies? If an agency is just about to type an email and ask for some work from you, what is it that they would buy? What are they buying?
Well, first of all, I don't think humanity should be a differentiator in our content. I mean, that's the state we're in, Chris. That's the state we're in.
Yeah.
That's why I've decided to kind of go away from the B2C world and kind of bring all that into B2B, because I feel like there's a big shift, a momentum shift in how B2Bs talk in our marketing. We're all waking up to the idea that B2B isn't just like, you know, suit and tie and tied up really tight, and then talk jargons like forever.
Yep.
We're all talking like we're humans, and we're talking to humans, and the best storytellers win. The best marketers who can break down their complicated concepts into simple concepts wins. And that's what I want to do. And now I completely forgot what your question was.
Well, I mean, you more or less answered it by telling me what you do. But if an agency is looking to work with you, what is it that you can do that will help an agency?
Yeah, I started off this agency journey, kind of doing everything and anything about social media. And what I've quickly found out is that if you want to win more businesses, if you want to stand out in the crowd, or actually just for people to know who you are, you kind of have to niche yourself down. So what I'm niching myself down to is helping companies and agencies who've got long form content. We're talking about blogs, webinars, podcasts like this, or white papers. Let's break those down into engaging LinkedIn content that gets you more visibility, that gets you more leads, and engagement at the end of the day. Because all of that content is great. It's just stuck in long form right now. When you throw it into LinkedIn, where you know the average time we spend there is about 7 minutes and 38 seconds. We don't have time to digest all of that great content. So the idea is to break down that knowledge into small little chunks that's entertaining, that is reflective, and that has a short story rather than trying to tell the whole long thing in one shot.
And you're spot on. I think from an agency's point of view, like they could do this with their customers. You know, you can come along and help them. There's like an outsourced partner type thing. But there's also the fact that most agencies don't do their own marketing very well either. They'll write a massive case study. They'll write a series of blog articles, and that's where they're then their only chance in life of getting seen is maybe an impression or two in Google, or an email newsletter with a low open rate, maybe LinkedIn, but not very much, and just snip it down into something of interesting value. That why would you not make this content much more engaging for the audience that you're trying to get in front of?
100%, particularly for those companies who already have these kind of respectable LinkedIn followings. You know, your content is there. All we need now is to take that and actually give it the attention and treatment that it deserves, so that it gets the attention that it deserves.
So, potentially difficult, contentious question. What do you love the most about working with agencies?
I'll tell you what. I've worked with agencies now that I feel are incredibly collaborative. I think that, and I don't know if I'm lucky. Maybe I am, but like as people like yourself, Chris, where there's it's a very collaborative environment where I feel we're all here to help each other and build each other, and that's an awesome thing because I could just go back to a 9 to 5, and the environment could be very different. There's 9 times out of 10 the environment is different than something that's very collaborative. So I love the idea that we can hit each other up, bounce off each other. There's no egos. We're just all here to help each other out, and I love that.
Well, there's lots of egos, but usually they're nice people.
They hide it well with me.
Well, I mean, the cynical thing I can say is that you're definitely wrong, and the fact that all of the people you work with happen to be nice, it's a good sign that your marketing's working. I work with lots of agencies, and the agencies that I work with, that we do the accelerator program with, they're nice people too. So my cynicism is definitely wrong. I'm just a very British person, and I quite like to find some cloud in that silver lining. Agency people are generally nice people because they have businesses which are people businesses. You have to be good at people.
Absolutely. But hey, until I run into those ones that aren't, then I'm gonna keep riding that.
That's fine. I mean, you're on LinkedIn, so you probably get a few emails every day. I get asked if I'm on. What is it? Today I've had about 17 of the "can you take X amount of qualified leads" emails on. It's like, nope, not interested. But thanks for doing manual targeted outreach that's not targeted. That's just angry Chris coming out there. Sorry, everyone. So in all the experience you've got with agencies, yourself included, the agencies that you work with, the businesses you work with, what sets the best out from the rest? What would you say, is you can tell from a mile off, like they're going to be good?
I think it's been interesting. Again, off the bat, everybody's been super, super incredibly collaborative, nice, and well-intentioned. That's the key thing, right? But I do find that the best people to work with in this kind of area has two things. One is a solid idea of who the brand is. They don't necessarily have to have like a brand strategy or like a 9-step whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have a very good sense of who they are, why they're there, what their brand, how their brand's supposed to behave.
Yeah.
And that's been helpful, because if that's not in place, then it becomes very hard to try and write into a style that's very you. Oftentimes that's probably where a lot of the hardest work is I'll create something and then be like, oh, it doesn't sound like us. Like, but I have no idea what us sounds like. So that is hard.
So
yeah, go on.
Just to jump in on that. So there's a lot of agencies that know themselves. There's a lot of agencies that don't. How do you? If I'm running an agency now and I'm kind of going, am I doing this right? Am I speaking in the right voice? Am I saying the right things? What would you kind of look for that would kind of help you go, here's where you should start, or you're not quite hitting the mark? Because loads of these agencies, they've got great names, good branding, good logo and everything like that, but they're not taking 30 leads a day and not getting super excited about all of the goings on in the industry, because they're just kind of moving along. How can you be one of those people that you said are doing the best job?
Ooh, okay. I think there's a second part to the best job actually is actually to start to create content in general, because I think that, as you would know, it's hard to create content. It's easy to sit in front of a mic maybe, or even across somebody and talk, but to kind of formalize that into content, it becomes a little harder. It's kind of weird, but that's what happens. So those two things I think are key. But in order, if you don't already have your brand in check, I think that there's two ways to go about it. One is to get professional help. That sounds awful, but you know what I mean. I don't mean mentally, but I mean
no. You find an agency accelerator called the OMG Center if you have these troubles. Yes, of course.
Those guys are amazing. Yeah. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
You come to a guy like Chris and you go to the OMG Center and you get help with finding yourself, finding your brand and what you mean. And it's so easy to brush that off as, oh, it's fluff. But once you realize who you are, your content changes and the ability to attract other people changes. And I feel like there's two groups of people. There's the type of people who don't believe in it and will always forever swear by, every time I spend X, Y has to come back. But branding is one of those things where if you invest in, it's a long ball game. And when you win the long ball, even when times are tough, in the short haul, you'll win the long game. So yeah. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, branding is the kind of thing which is it's the underlying tone of voice that people use when you're not in the room. So it's that, your marketing is your outward kind of impression and everything like that. But your branding, when you've done it right and you're speaking in the same language and you're saying genuinely like who you are and what you do, inauthenticity kills it if you don't have it. So then when you're not in the room and people are saying, oh yeah, that agency's great because, or have you heard of person X in that agency? And their tone of voice follows the brand and the way that that brand explains itself as well.
100%. I think that the worst thing, I had a friend who said the worst thing anybody can say about you is, oh, what about that Anthony guy? What's he like? And if anybody goes, oh, he's nice, that's like an insult, because that was the only thing they could think of to describe you. And that's the same for an agency. It's like if somebody goes up to an agency and goes, what's it like working with them? And if they're like, they're okay, it's not good enough. That doesn't stand out.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of the hard work to get to that point where you don't have that outcome, it is quite, you do really have to kind of look deep, and it is a bit of a therapeutic type thing, because it actually, you usually end up essentially just articulating something that you always knew. Okay, it's not always fun though. You might come down to it and realize, oh, actually we like being a safe pair of hands, a safe bet. We like working with accountants. We're not fun, but at the same time, that's fine because that's who we are. Or you might be like your super cool work with influencer type agency that's got a million things on the go at the same time, and that's still you. The ones that aren't, when you get down deep into it and you really like match up who you are, it feels great.
100%. One of the exercises I like doing with companies and agencies is sketching out your brand as a character. Because if your brand can behave like a character on social media, that's what people are attracted to, right? So it's not only just your values, like what you're for, but think about what you're against as well. If you're against If you're against content being thrown to LinkedIn and nobody liking it or nobody engaging with it, that's what I'm against. And how do I, as a brand, respond to that? Am I angry? Am I silly about it? Am I helpful? Think about that. And I think that if you can get write your brand as a character as visual as you can visualize it, almost like you visualize, let's say, Wednesday Addams. When you think about Wednesday Addams, you know what makes her tick, you know how she behaves, you know what she likes and doesn't like. If you can get to that level, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's when it's really easy to get people to come and work for you in your agency, because they know what they're buying into. As a client as well as a member of staff. And I've often seen that some of the best agencies, people will almost all speak in the same tone of voice. There's accidental values that these people have and accidental similarities these people have because they've bought into that kind of the persona part of the brand because it just fits them. So, when you go to an interview, the employer will see a bit of them in reflection and vice versa. And when you've got loads of people that you're interviewing or loads of people that you're trying to win in a pitch against, you're going to want to go with what's familiar, what feels good, and if that happens to align with you, that's great. I don't think there's very much point in going through all this effort though, Anthony, if you then go after clients that don't fit you.
No, the whole point is like people like people. Gosh, I have to figure that out better. But people
Content guy, right?
Put that on the t-shirt. Like people like people. But like
Right.
minds attract like minds. And it's okay to not be loved by everybody because what I do, is not for everybody. And I know that. And I think it's better that I know that than to try and win everybody over. And that's okay. And it's the same for every agency, is that we're here with a set of values, a set of skills that are going to be for certain people. And it's not going to be for everybody. But if you can find your values and you're able to express them and make them succinct, that's going to attract people that also share the same values. But until you do that, it's going to be hard for them to know where to find you and how to find you.
Absolutely. So if you suddenly became magic and you had a magic wand and there's only one thing that you could do to change in all agencies across the land, what would it be?
Magic wand.
You've got a magic wand. That's all you've got.
Oh, again, so far it's been working with agencies has been wonderful, and I think that just that collaborative spirit I think has been great. It's really hard to say what to change, but maybe it's what to ramp up instead. Maybe it's to it's about if I can have a magic wand and go ba-dunk, I think it'd be great if all of our content was super engaging on LinkedIn. Yeah. I think we have this understanding that LinkedIn isn't just a place where we throw out content as a PR exercise or as a tick box exercise, and it's that if we can all recognize that there are these rich, valuable relationships that we can build on LinkedIn, not just personally but as a company, we would treat our content differently. We would treat our clients' content differently because it's priority. If your client has 10, 20, 30,000 followers on LinkedIn and they have like 10 likes and 5 of those 10 likes are from their own employees, it's not reaching the people it's supposed to reach. So why are we accepting this as status quo, and why is that okay? I think it shouldn't be okay. That's what I would change. And I think that, my suspicion is that it's not high on people's priorities right now, which is why when you see, LinkedIn pages right now, it's very low in engagement. But I think that this is also where the opportunity is that the first people who wake up to it are the ones that can reap the benefits.
Yeah. Well, mean, it's a good thing to wave your magic wand on. Hopefully, in the other recordings that I do with other partners, they've got something equally as valuable to offer. Because I've got a lot of these recordings to do, and if they all say the same thing, it's gonna be really boring.
I mean, you can then just make a supercut. It'd be great.
Yeah, supercut, a bit like that one where all the people in TV news anchors are all saying the exact same things all the time, but they all say it as if it's them. Yeah, I'll do that.
You know what I'm going to do now? I'm just going to go through a guest list. I'm going to just email them what I just said, and then.
Oh God, I regret today. I regret everything.
I regret nothing.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Anthony.
Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure.
I've enjoyed the energizing chat about LinkedIn content, which that seems like an oxymoron, but it's not. Doing it right does get results. You get a lot of engagement for the work that you do. So agencies out there, you should be A, doing this better, and B, finding out how to do this better by finding Anthony on the OMG Centre, having a chat, go through the community, make friends, learn some stuff, pay him some money. Maybe.
Pay Chris first. Let's go. Let's get the OMG.
Thanks so much for coming on, mate.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Take care.
All right. Bye.